So I've got 3 weeks to turn our army of unpainted orcs into this. Let's talk about that. So at the tail end of 9th, me and some friends decided to just go nuts and start a new army, and mine happened to be the Orks. They were an army that I've always sort of wanted to play, but because I've got so many Orks in Sigmar, I thought probably shouldn't just do the same army in 2 games. Eventually though, I ran out of 40k armies to do, and we bit the bullet. The main idea was to do a crusade, so like a narrative building your army. And that's why a lot of my models have sort of various conversions on them. I've got a biker squad that killed a unit of blade guards, so they've taken their swords and shields. And my friend painted their space marines in sort of a Sons of Horus colour scheme. So I've got a Death Dread just stomping down on one. The plan was for this army to be quite slow growing and be more of a passion project for me. That's changed recently as I realised that how quickly I can get these guys painted up whilst I was doing an Orc kill team. And it also dawned on me that I have the London Grand Tournament in 3 weeks' time. So the stars have aligned and the Necrons that I was painting up have been put to the side, and we've decided instead we're going to take a fun, fluffy Orc list to probably one of the most competitive tournaments, definitely the one most competitive I've ever been to. Just see how it goes. The main idea with the Force is I'm basically just taking some of the units that I think look cool, and it turns out, rules-wise, they kind of work together sometimes in a bit of a way. So obviously, we've got Death Dreads in there, we've got Death Copters, we've got some Squig Hog Boys, or as Mrs. Starky calls them, Squiggy Piggies. And of course, how could we take an Orc list without bringing the war boss himself, Ghazghkull Thraka? At the moment, Ghazghkull and Malekar I think are the only models I'm missing from the list, but they are on their way, and hopefully they'll get here in time for me to quickly slap some paint on them before I have to go up to London. So as I said earlier, most of this list is actually currently either primed or just grey plastic. I think currently I have 21 models built and painted. That's this guy and 20 Gretchen. So we've got quite a bit to be doing before we're able to go to London. Part of the tournament stipulations is everything's got to be fully painted and based to a battle-ready standard. So we've got a fair bit of work ahead of us with 40 boys plus loads of other stuff to be getting on with. As you would have seen in the previous video about the Orc kill team, I'm going to be slap chopping these guys. So it's going to be building up from black, dry brushing grey, dry brushing white. We're going to stipple on some metallics over the metallic areas, and then we're just going to chuck a load of express paints and contrast paints over the top of these guys and just hope for the best, really. I have a few armies that I like to look really good, and I like to be like, oh, look at my beautifully painted army. Orcs, I find I've got way too many of them to worry too much about things like that. We've got some Cities of Sigmar that I was going to be building and painting up in the next couple of weeks, but I think they might have to take a back burner for the time being. But they're an army that I'm going to take my time with, slowly work my way through. These guys, they do not get that privilege. They will be as quick as I can do them. So, let's get started. So my game plan, if you can say that I have one for this army, is I've got Ghazghkull Thraka with his 5 mega knobs, who are just going to be charging up the board or whatever the biggest thing is on the table and just going for him. We've got a knob on Smasher Squig, who's riding up with 6 Squig Hog Boys. They're kind of doing the same thing. It's kind of the only really thing the Orcs have going for them, right? Is they like to charge up and smash things. So I think if I'm not doing that, I'm doing something wrong. That said, I do have 5 Flash Kits and 5 Looters, which are very shooty units. Not necessarily because I think, oh, they're going to be very useful in anti-tank shooting. I just think the models are quite cool. I love the way that the guns are just amalgamations of other guns just strapped together. And when I was building up the Looters, I had a sort of a bit of a fun mini game of, what gun is that? Is that a fusion blaster strapped to a las gun? Perfect, love it. I'm just trying to identify the different guns within them. We've got a war boss who's leading 20 of the boys, and he's got an enhancement that gives them +2 to their movement. So again, they're just going to be yeeting their way up the board. The other 20 boys have a big mech with a shock attack gun. Not because I think he's particularly useful. He gives them, I think, reroll 1s to hit in shooting, which with their terrible pistols isn't that great. What he does have, though, is possibly my favourite gun in all of Warhammer 40,000, which someone described to me as it's basically a vacuum cleaner that sucks up goblins and then teleports them inside of the opponent, which is both terrifying and hilarious. And so, of course, he has to be in the list. We've got 2 Death Dreads, one of which is remaining from my original Crusade force, so it's stomping on that Sons of Horus-esque Marine. The other one is because Mr. Starkey loved the idea of having one with just 4 giant claws, and I can't say I disagree, so in he goes. And then finally, we've just got a bunch of other fast things to yeet their way up the board, and a 20 Gretchen just to sit on the back and hope everyone forgets about them. All in all, it's just the models I like. I think you could definitely build a more competitive Orc list, for sure. As I was building this list, I sort of started looking at things like, ooh, this is a very good combo. I think maybe a Orc Nob with a War banner would be quite good, but I neither own him nor think he looks very nice as a model. So until, there's a new one of those, or I might kit bash my own for a future game. But for the time being, I think all the models in my list look quite cool, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with them. Whilst a lot of people go to the LGT to win, and they'll try fairly hard to do so, the reason why I'm going is me and a couple of friends went last year from Sheffield, and we had so much fun that on the train back to Sheffield we said, we're doing this again next year. With moving house and various stress and sickness, I sort of forgot that this was coming up, and it's only really dawned on me in the last few weeks or so that actually I need to have an army for this. I need to have it painted, ready to go, and with 10th edition dropping, I can't just take the army I took last year. Points are different, the way the army plays is completely different, and I think I get confused all the little changes that have been made. So, Orcs it is. Me and the boys, rather than focusing on trying to beat everyone and trying to take first place, be cool, it's probably not going to happen. So instead we've decided whoever comes first out of the 3 of us, the other 2 are going to build, convert and paint up a model for their winning army. So if I win, they'll both build me an Orc. If my friend Zach wins, me and Ali will have to build him a Drakari. So, I've got more of a personal investment of why I want to win at least one game. I think if I win one game, I'm happy. But at the end of the day, it's just a fun weekend away. I think too many people go into 40k needing to... at the end of the day, it is a game, and you do want to win. But I think telling a story is an important part of it as well. And if I can come away having lost all 5 games, but having had a lot of fun, that seems like a win to me. At the end of the day, it's a game, and if I'm not having fun, I've just spent a lot of money to go to London and be miserable for 2 days, which is just not the dream. So, hence why these little guys are coming with. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a game with my Orcs where me and my opponent weren't having fun. I just think they're a fun sort of novelty army, which unless you're in a really grumpy mood, it's quite hard not to find them enjoyable. All that's left for me to do now is make these guys look a bit more like these guys. So, I'll get a painting, wish me luck, and I'll catch up with you guys once we're back from the tournament. See you next time.